afternoon, everyone. My name is Judge Derek Meineke. I'm the Chief Judge of the 44th District Court, and I would like to welcome you here today. It is a good day indeed. It is an absolute pleasure to be able to also introduce this morning Pastor Nelson. Pastor Nelson from the Royal Oak First United Methodist Church, who is going to lead us with an invocation so that we can get this important and significant event started. And I can think of no greater person to start us off than Pastor Nelson, whose love for his parishioners and for his community, I think, mirrors that of Keith. And it is only appropriate that after 80 years as a member, that Keith's memorial service would begin with some words from Pastor Nelson. Pastor Nelson, if you join us.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, friends. It's an honor and privilege to be here. My name is Jeff Nelson. I'm currently the pastor at First United Methodist Church here in Royal Oak. And when you are a United Methodist pastor, you go where the bishop sends you. Yes. When the bishop sends you. And I got sent to come to Royal Oak 3 years ago. When you come to a church that has a 185 plus year history in the community, you know that you better listen. And you better listen for names of people that have gone before you and have laid the pathway. And being new to the church, there was one name that I heard before I arrived and heard consistently upon my arrival, and that was the name of Judge Keith Leenhouts. It didn't take long to discover that his impact wasn't just in this local church congregation, but it was throughout this community, and as I listened more, his impact went beyond the boundaries of Royal Oak and throughout the nation. Long before words like criminal justice reform and restorative justice were in vogue, Keith was doing that in his practice right here in this community. And so we ask ourselves, where did one learn to become such an advocate of restorative justice, believing that people needed a second chance at redemption? Where do you learn that? Well, it didn't take me long to figure out where Keith learned that. He learned that from his faith, from a life verse that he carried with him from Micah 6:8, that asks, what is it that the Lord requires of us? But three things: to love justice, to embrace kindness, and to walk humbly with one's God. To love kindness, to embrace justice, and to live a life of humility. Judge Leenhouse embodied that in the life of our congregation, took that out into his work here in this community. He began to inspire a movement that would give young people a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth and a fifth chance, in order to become the people that he believed they had always been created to be. One thing I can tell you for sure, though, is that doesn't happen without some help. And I said, Audrey, she's mad at me right now, but I said the only thing missing from this was her picture next to the judge there. So, Audrey, we thank you for all that you've done in order to help this become real for you. Always be careful when you ask a Methodist pastor to pray, because they might preach. So I'm going to move us quickly into a time of prayer here this morning. As I prayed and asked God to lay some words on my heart, God brought me today to the words of one of the ancient saints of the church, the prayer of St. Francis. A simple, humble prayer that gets at the heart of what it means to be a true public and faithful servant. May these words from the ancient saint speak true of this saint, whose life we come to remember here today. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me so love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Frankly, without his dogged determination, I don't know that this happens. And I'm confident that he's going to be able to let you know just what this means to the family, because I know it's been a project close to his heart for a long, long time. Jim?
To be a little emotional, so hang in there with me. Something that I've wanted to say for quite some time. Welcome to the Judge Keith J. Leenhouts Probation Department.
Amen.
Each and every one of you has already told us some stories about him, what he's meant to you, and just a great day to be together and to have fun and have the grandkids enjoy this and to know exactly what kind of grandpa they had. So thank you very much. Just a privilege to work with the Royal Oak Historical Society to help fundraise. They did some mailings for us. Appreciated them doing that. Couldn't have done it without them. It just saved us from having to do all that. So great organization, and thank you very much. Ideation, we worked with them on the display. Many meetings with them. They came up with the concept, the design, kept us on budget. The marble statue of Dad out front just didn't quite make it. I think we did pretty good representing what he did, not only for the probation department, but as a husband and a father and grandfather. So pretty special. And can't thank Judge Meineke enough. A couple years ago, he came up with this idea. For some reason, today was the day it was supposed to have been, so we went back and forth, and like Dad, he's a very busy person. We had to go around cross-country meets and track meets and plays and everything else. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in is that the judge didn't do the brush cut look today. That would have been perfect. And then I was thinking there's probably no one that knows what a brush cut is. On behalf of Bill and my mom, just thank you for your support over the years, the friendships, the adventures we've been on. Just thank you.
Before we move on to our next speaker, I also believe that State Representative Jim Ellison has come in as well. Thank you very much for coming. And that just speaks to the power of the compelling story that Keith wrote, that so many of us felt this afternoon, this Sunday afternoon, when we could be doing so many other things. We were drawn here. Despite all the parking challenges, despite everything that we had to manage, despite obviously our crowded room, we found our way here. And I think it's because there's a story that we wanted to hear again and be able to retell it to others when we leave this place. Next, I would like to welcome to the podium Mike Frentz from the Royal Oak Historical Society. And Jim he was not minimizing it when he said that they were a key component to making this a reality. You see, when we had this idea that we wanted to get this done, things like this take money, all right? And one of the things that I felt strongly about is I wanted to make sure that it was funded by donors, not by the taxpayers, because perhaps there are taxpayers out there that don't feel the same way about Judge Leenhouts, although if I think I told them the story, they would. So that put me in a unique situation. Under the judicial canon of ethics, I can't ask anybody for money. So I need money, but I can't ask anybody for money. And Jim, of course, was willing to do whatever it took to help, but but it certainly would have been challenging for him to go around and say, I have this idea for a project, can you just give me some money, I'm just going to put it in my pocket. So that's not how it would work either. Well, we have this fantastic depository of history in this community. The Royal Oak Historical Society is such a beacon of remembrance. They are here strictly so that we never forget where we came from or why it is that we're so great, and the way we are so neighborly, and the way we are so welcoming. And all of those things would be lost to time but for the efforts of the Royal Oak Historical Society. So when I went to a board meeting and said, this is the rendering, this is the idea we have, it was a unanimous vote by the board of directors. Muriel Versace and Mike Frentz have been consistently helping us with this, walking with us every step of the way. And frankly, they belong here at the front because they were fantastic partners. And this moment does not occur without their help. So I feel immensely grateful for the fact that in our hour of need, Jim and I could lean on the Royal Oak Historical Society. And I'm confident that whatever stories need to be told, like Keith Leenhouts', they will be preserved and retold time and again by the members of the Royal Oak Historical Society. So please, let's welcome Mike Frentz.
Hi, everyone. On behalf of the officers, directors, and volunteers of the Royal Oak Historical Society, we're honored to assist in preserving the legacy of Judge Keith Leenhouts and his volunteers and probation program. With your help, support, and generosity, we have raised all the funds necessary to immortalize a true Royal Oak icon, Judge Leenhouts, with this impressive display inside the 44th District Court. Personally, I first met Judge Leenhouts as an 8th grader on a field trip from Clara Barton Junior High to the then courthouse in the City Hall. I sat in the gallery with my classmates and witnessed him firsthand. I was in awe of his calm demeanor and authority, and it left an impression on me to this day. Judge Leenhouts' high moral character and his genuine concern for the individual and this community will be his legacy and will have a lasting impact on the history of Royal Oak.
Thank you. Now, for my closing remarks, I have a number of things that I'd like to say. As you can tell by my informal job as a master of ceremonies, and from my career as a lawyer and now as a judge, I'm never going to skip an opportunity to talk. As my kids like to say, we need you to turn it off right now. You're dad right now. You're not judge. We're not one of your defendants. I thought, when I was preparing my closing remarks for today, I thought, what would Keith be doing in this moment? And first and foremost, he'd be very uncomfortable with this moment. He would spend most of his time elevating those that helped him with getting where he was at in life, rather than trying to offer any sort of celebration of himself. That was absolutely outside of his character. So I thought he would spend most of the time thanking people. And so first and foremost, I definitely want to thank, again, the Historical Society, the Leenhouts family, all of our sponsors. At the back of our program, you can see all of the people that stepped up and offered donations. The staff here at the 44th District Court, my staff has been so supportive of this endeavor, and what I really enjoyed was when this display went up, there was almost an extra element of pride that went into my probation officers. You could see as they read, and they recognized that now they are stewards of this legacy themselves. So I'm certainly very proud of my staff here and what they've done to support our efforts. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending, because this is overwhelming, frankly. It's a Sunday afternoon with crummy parking, and there's a million other things that you could be doing right now, and you're here to celebrate. And that gives me confidence that you will not take this moment and leave it here. You're going to take this and go elsewhere and talk about the story of Keith, because at its core, it was a story of love and service. I mean, that's just simply what he was at his core. So I know that's first and foremost. What he would do is he'd thank everyone. And then I know what else he would do is he would break down. Because everybody knows here he wore his emotions on his sleeve. All right? And every time that I met with him, after I was elected, I had the great fortune to stop by and visit, and we'd have wonderful chats. And in those moments, he gave me a roadmap. Right? This is how, as a young judge, you can make your mark in this world and do positive things in your community. Make sure that you are always a community first judge. But he would talk about the people who were part of this program. And he would break down, and it would be tears of joy, though, and just sheer gratitude at the people who were part of this. And that's why it was so crucial, and Jim made it a very key point, that in addition to all the people that we thanked as sponsors, we thanked the first 8 people that he met with, that's to start the VIP program, the Volunteers in Probation. So let's really break that down. The Volunteers in Probation program, what did that mean at that time? It was transformative. It was groundbreaking. There wasn't anything else like this out there. In 1959, your choice was, if you were dealing with a misdemeanor offendant, that you would basically have the opportunity to put them in jail or give them a fine. Both of them very finite solutions, limited in impact. And Judge Leenhouts rightly saw that there was a problem with that. And rather than go along with the way things had always been done, as so many had before, he said there's got to be a solution to this. There's got to be a way where we can not just tell people, you need to be a better person. We need to show them how. Because not everybody in their upbringing is given that clear roadmap. Sometimes other people need to come into their lives and show them the way. Not just get a job, how to keep a job. Not just live a better life, how to live. And it was amazing to me to hear the story about he makes this call, and all of these 8 people, they answer. And that was never lost on Keith. When I would sit there and talk to him about this, he would just be in tears of gratitude that these people would think his idea was a good one. And they'd spend the time. I mean, not just an hour here or hour there. Hours, 10 to 12 hours, monthly, away from their families, away from their careers, to try to help the individuals that came through the Royal Oak Municipal Court then, now the 44th District Court, help them go from being first-time offenders to being last-time offenders. And the statistics back it up, folks. I mean, recidivism rates crashed. I mean, he was able to take an idea, put it into action, and produce results. Well, shoot, that's a fantastic idea. People need to hear about it. And sure enough, Reader's Digest came along and they covered it. Look Magazine came along and covered it. When you have an idea like this, when you have something this positive, I guess you could say that Judge Leenhouts' idea went viral, and it went all across the nation, and it put Royal Oak on the map as a place where good ideas happen, as a community of good people. Now, in 1969, he resigns from the bench, and then he takes this program nationwide. And the number of courts now that continue to have the impact of his program, that restorative justice idea, is immeasurable. And the things that we hear about a lot, the problem-solving courts. We have problem-solving courts here at the 44th District Court. Judge Wittenberg and myself, we both have a hybrid drug, alcohol, sobriety court. There's a veterans court over in Oak Park that we share and work with. There's mental health courts that we also work with. These courts, their beginnings were in the VIP program. This idea that if you surround people with support, not view them as lost causes, or individuals that are just a file to be shuffled along, that real results can happen. So it's amazing to me that an idea that a 34-year-old judge had in 1959 is as relevant today as it was then, if not more so. Now, that was my opportunity to talk about the impact of the program. For me personally, his friendship was a friendship of a lifetime. I still hear his voice even now. He gave me a fantastic roadmap. He gave me permission to be a judge that shows emotion, that shows compassion. Now, make no mistake, when you're applying the law, you need to apply it without bias or emotion. But when it comes to sentencing, there needs to be some compassion. There needs to be some care. There needs to be some emotion that is utilized in formulating a plan that's going to work for the person standing in front of you. It might not work for the person that came before or the person after, but it will work for the person that's standing in front of you. And I don't know that I would have felt comfortable doing that if I had not been given permission from Keith's example. That you can do that. It's okay. Not just that it's okay, it's the way things should be done. Now, as a friend, what I always enjoyed was no matter when I saw him, I always saw that spark, that impish sense of humor that he had. How he would tell me when I would talk to him about the coaching that I was doing, how he would try out flag football coaching and he designed triple reverses and he'd say they always worked. They can't have worked. There's no way that a triple reverse would work. But in his version of the story, they did. He had a joy for life. He had a joy when he interacted with people. If anybody visited him, the spark that came through, he was glad to see you. Not for what you could bring him. He was glad to see you because of who you were. You. To feel that special, unique feeling. Not many people can generate that. Keith did that. And I think that really came from, at his core, everything that he was love. Love for his fellow man. Love for his community. Love for his church. And most importantly, love for his family. I mean, that was who he was. 100% at his core. So as we move forward, one of the things that I wanted to make very clear, that this was not just a memorial for the past. This is a living memorial. Our probation department honors him with, our court honors him with this display. But we honor him further by what we do on a day-to-day basis. Because if we were just here today, and this is the only time that we honored him, how hollow would that be? Instead, myself, Judge Wittenberg, our whole staff, our probation department, our commitment is to honor him every single day by being innovative, problem-solving, seeing people, not numbers, not files, but people. That's the way we can honor Judge Leenhouts. Now, as we bring this memorial service to a close, of course I invite you to stick around for a little bit. Let's visit. Let's share some fellowship. Take a look at all of the plaques here and read even a little bit more. We have refreshments in our jury room. But when you do embark from the courthouse here, this is my challenge to you. Live as Keith lived. You don't have to be a judge to do it. All right? All you need are a few simple guidelines. Bring joy to all that you need. Have faith in the idea that people are basically good. And choose to live a life of service and love. Thank you all for being here.